The Edwards Syndrome Association is a 100% volunteer 501c3 nonprofit organization dedicated to advocacy, equal care, education, and rights of people with Edwards syndrome. The ESA strives to empower parents to advocate while working to help break barriers for those with Edwards syndrome. This podcast is for educational purposes only. For all medical advice, please speak with your medical providers. Thank you for joining us and for breaking barriers with us.
Welcome to the Breaking Barriers podcast, where we talk all things Edwards syndrome, special needs, therapy, disability, and everything in between.
Welcome to another episode of the Breaking Barriers podcast. I am your host, Gina, and today I am joined by my co-hosts, Crystal and Kelly. Today we are joined by our special guest, Beverly. Beverly is Mama Bear to Verity, who has trisomy 18, and she is also the founder of Mama Bear Care, an amazing nonprofit organization that we partner with and that provides amazing resources to people with trisomy 18 and other rare conditions. We are so happy to have you here with us, Beverly.
Thank you, ladies. It's an honor to join you tonight.
First, could you tell us a little bit about your family?
Sure. So my husband is a retired Air Force guy. He served his country for 22 and a half years, and then partly because of Verity, but also partly because we were privileged to land in Colorado, we decided to retire some years back. So we have landed in the Colorado Springs area. We have 9 children. I say that we have launched 4 of them, and we are homeschooling 4 of them. And then Verity is our tag along. She's our youngest. So she's kind of a hybrid of sort of homeschooling, sort of schooling, and lots of home therapies and loving. So, yeah, I have 3 grandbabies. That is an amazing phase of life to be in. And I have a wonderful son-in-law and a new daughter-in-law that we welcome to the family in May. And I'm just loving life and very grateful for what God has done.
That's amazing. Lots of people in your house, it sounds like.
Yep.
So could you tell us a little bit more about Verity, and what it was like when you found out about her diagnosis?
Yeah, this story, I feel like only God could write a story like this. You know, we never planned to have a big family, and so the fact that I am a mama bear of 9 kids is really just a testimony to the fact that God works miracles and changes hearts, because we thought we would have 2, maybe 3 kids when we got married. But you know, in all seriousness, I did go through a couple of early miscarriages along the way in between some of our other babies, and I really feel like God used those experiences really in a way to prepare me for what was to come, even though our story with Verity did not end in a miscarriage or stillbirth. But as I'm sure a lot of you listening will probably remember, when you hear about that diagnosis, whether it's during pregnancy or after birth, there's a grieving process that you go through. And I was 18 weeks pregnant with this little girl, and we were so excited to get the ultrasound and find out if she was a girl. We didn't know at the time, but instead I was scheduled for a diagnostic ultrasound because of what looked to be suspicious with my blood tests. And honestly, I don't even remember taking the blood test, but I got obviously I did. And so the phone call that I got about that was pretty dire, and the doctor was basically trying to reassure me that, well, I still had a 1 in 10 chance, or no, I think it was a 9 in 10 chance that everything was fine with our baby, and that they were just kind of going to rule things out and so on and so forth. But it was very anxiety inducing. And so we went to this diagnostic ultrasound, met with a genetic counselor, which I didn't know was going to happen, and sort of freaked me out because I was really afraid that they were going to push abortion on us. So I just went into the meeting saying, just so you know, we're keeping this baby. It doesn't matter, what we find out here. And she said, that's great, that's fine. I'm just here to give you information. And she really was kind. She walked us through, a lot of the technicalities of that, and then told us what they would look for in the ultrasound. So it became pretty clear that we were seeing some soft markers, and the doctor who gave us the news really, she's part of my mama bear story, really, because she did not have a great bedside manner. She did not talk about our baby. We had just found out Verity was a girl, and to us, that's a really big deal because then we start the naming, and naming in our family is a huge deal. All of our kids have very unique names. But she came in talking about the fetus and it instead of the baby or her. And you just very detached, very cold and clinical. And I just remember, feeling resentful even in that moment, even though I was just so shocked and sad and overwhelmed and all of those things. And it just really changed the trajectory of the pregnancy. All of a sudden now there's this shadow over what should have been a happy, joyous time as we learned that she's a girl and chose her name and so on. So the next few weeks were just devastating as we were looking at burial options and how do you plan a memorial for a baby? You don't know how long that child's going to live. And then, like a beacon of hope, like a lifeline that was thrown to me, somebody introduced me. It was kind of a friend of a friend, almost like a blind date. You're set up with somebody who's gone down the trisomy 18 road, right? I don't know if you had those similar experiences with connections and so people want to help and they want to connect you with somebody who's been on that journey. And so this sweet lady, she and I are Facebook friends now, and she profoundly changed the course of our journey by introducing me to the rare trisomy community online. And it had not occurred to me to look for support groups online.
Mm.
And this was back in 2016. And so I remember getting in there, and I did not want people to know me. I didn't want them to talk to me. I lurked. I read all these posts. I searched. I found posts that kind of resonated with where I was in my journey, and I read the comments. And then little by little, I got braver, and I started to ask questions and connect with other people, and I got more friends in my tribe. And I realized that there are families caring for these children, not just infants, not just babies, because we've been told that Verity might live 5 to 15 days. That was the average.
Right. Yeah.
And, the tired statistic that maybe 5% will make it to their first birthday. And I was seeing videos and photos of these beautiful children, and clearly they were well loved. They were surrounded by siblings and their parents and grandparents just doting on them. Sure, there were challenges, and I don't think the community sugarcoated any of that. I think that I got a pretty realistic look at what it would be like if Verity were to overcome those statistics and we were to bring her home. So it was scary. I won't lie. In fact, part of my personal wrestling was, okay, I'm already a little overwhelmed with 8 healthy kids. Like, I don't know that I can do this. But at the same time, this love, I couldn't explain it to anyone else who hasn't gone through that, but this fierce love just swept over me, and I wanted to fight for that little girl. And I mentioned the one doctor. We have another doctor experience, which a lot of people have heard. If they've heard me speak anywhere, I tell the story of the doctor that was supposed to help me, supposed to give me information about what we could expect if baby Verity were to be born and were to be in the NICU. And his first words were, "Oh, you're here to talk about your retarded daughter." Like, that was literally how we opened that meeting. And I was
Hmm.
just stunned into silence. I didn't have anyone with me. Unfortunately, my husband was on a work trip, and I was just sitting there feeling gut punched and helpless. Like, I didn't even know how to formulate a sentence. I just kind of listened as he just kept feeding me all of this stuff. Like, if she were to be born alive, she would live a futile life. She would be a drain on our family mentally,
Hmm.
emotionally, and financially. He said that the siblings better have buy-in because it's going to ruin their lives and all the things. And I just walked out of there, and of course then thought of all the things I wish I would have said to him or asked him
Right.
in the moment, but of
Yeah.
course, couldn't. I was so overwhelmed. I was angry and I was crying. And that I really look at as my mama bear moment. Like, I don't know what our story is going to be. I don't know what this outcome is going to be for this baby girl that I'm carrying. I can feel her kicking and doing somersaults in my belly, just like all my other kids. And whatever happens, I'm here to fight for her. And so that really was my mental shift that moment. That doctor fueled me. He gave me, the will to go home and dig through medical studies and all kinds of things that I don't know that I would have had the brave, that I don't know that I would have been brave enough to dig into because let's just say
Right.
medical language is not my my mother tongue. It took a lot of work to figure out what they were saying. But yeah, it really pivoted the whole journey because then our birth plan was, okay, this is what we want to do if she's born alive. And are you on board with that? Because if not, get off the train. We are going to find another team. But we did have a really good supportive team. I'm very grateful. She was born in Omaha at the University Medical Center there. And then she did have quite a few appointments at Children's of Omaha too. So that has a special place in our hearts as well. So we did end up finding a really supportive team. Thankfully, I didn't have to see those doctors again. Made my opinions known quietly behind the scenes. And then we did end up from there having a really good journey.
Yeah, that's a lot.
That's great.
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of what you said too is I feel like everybody goes through similar a similar path, but also different.
Mhm.
With like kind of how you get connected with the community and everyone kind of has that like doctor moment or where a medical professional just says something so ridiculous and you're
Right.
just like, but that doesn't
Yeah.
sound right, you know?
Hmm.
Yeah.
So we've never had the R word said to us, so that is
Mhm.
just like I wouldn't even know how I would
Yeah.
react in that moment.
Yeah.
That's
I've never
just
had that.
Right.
I don't know. I
yeah.
had the rest where, I was crying after every appointment and I was by
Mm,
myself too.
mm,
And it was just ridiculous. Like their, I don't even know what to say, their aura
yeah.
about it.
Yeah.
We
Yeah,
had a
it's
great
crazy.
experience, so I can't.
I just,
We had a great doctor.
Yay. I'm so glad somebody did.
Yeah.
I
Well, we
didn't,
didn't
I
find
didn't
out in
even,
utero.
I didn't
Yeah.
even know that there was anybody else until Emma was like 2 weeks old.
Oh, wow.
I
So
didn't even think of Facebook groups or
yeah.
anything because they told me that they all died. So I figured there wasn't any.
Wow. Right. Yeah. I guess that makes sense why I didn't think to look there right away. I was surprised. I don't know. Yeah, that was a whole new world for me. Think it
Yeah.
was a whole new good world.
We're
Yeah.
supposed
Well, I
we're
feel
supposed
like
to be able to trust the doctors, though, for
Yeah.
them to tell us the
Right.
correct information.
mm,
Mm-hmm.
and I feel like social media groups too. I mean, you're 2016, but even in 2019 with Mia, it wasn't like I
Yeah.
feel like groups
Not
were a
like it is
thing, but they
now.
weren't like how they are now, where it's like even
Yeah.
if a doctor told you like there's nobody out there, like you still are like, I'm gonna go search Facebook.
Yeah.
But I feel like five
Yeah.
plus years ago, that wasn't the norm.
It was not
Yeah.
a thing with Emma either.
And
She's
yeah.
7.
And so when you have doctors saying like there's nobody out there, you're not going to be like, oh, let me go look on social media, you know?
Right.
So I feel like that's kind of a big thing that people have now too. And I
Yeah.
feel like people
Yeah.
just are getting connected so much quicker, which is a great thing.
Yes. Well,
Um,
I honestly, I mean, not to drag too much other stuff into it, but after 2020 and a lot of things that were shared, let's just say from the medical perspective. I'm not going to get into there might
Yeah.
be many viewpoints represented. But I think the good thing that comes out of that is that we are not going to just
The,
take it
Right.
yeah.
at face value. Like it's worth researching. It's our
Mhm.
bodies or it's our child's body. It's our family. We have to live with these decisions. And I think I know I'm a different person because of this journey. We would all say
Mhm.
that, right?
Yeah.
I've always
Definitely.
been a fierce mama bear for all my kids. I hope they would say that. It's not just with Verity, but I love my kids. I would fight for them. I would do anything for them. But the what's the word I'm looking for? Like that, I don't know, spine of steel, like that
Comes with that.
resolve has evolved over the years as I have seen what our kids are capable of. I mean, I remember watching other kiddos and being inspired and realizing, oh, I can ask for that, or I can find somebody who will help me with this. And it just opened up a whole new world. So I would like to think that, if somebody did say those words to me today, I would smile and I would have a ready response. And I would, I don't want to ever be unkind to somebody else. I don't want to make others feel the way that man made me feel, but I
Hmm.
also don't want to just let it happen.
Right.
We've got
Yeah.
to change the narrative that it's up to us to gently and kindly and very firmly state what the truth is. And these kids are valuable and they are worth it. They're worth everything.
Amen to that. So you kind of already touched on this next question. Well, not kind of, you definitely have. But if you want to rephrase it a bit or however you want to answer this, what is being Verity's mom like?
Oh my gosh. It's an honor, I would say. I really am honored and blessed to be known as Verity's mom. I also want to, you know, ma make sure that the world knows that she has eight amazing big brothers and sisters too, and I'm their mom also. And so, a lot of times it does feel like it's all about Verity.
Hmm.
But I will say that being her mom has really taught me a lot of things that honestly I just didn't get as the parent of my eight other kids. As great as they are, as great as motherhood is, there are just certain things that we learn when we lay down our lives and serve somebody who cannot serve us back. I
Yeah.
think we get a taste of unconditional love and how it,
Definitely.
what it means to love one another, to love as Jesus did. I mean, I'm a Christian, that's going
Hmm.
to come out. Um, I think that I am a lot more compassionate because she's in my life, and I'm a lot more patient. I'm a lot I still have to work on that. I have road rage in the left lane like nobody
I was gonna say
else.
I'm working on the patience part.
I am
I'm still
such a
working
work
on the
in
patience
progress, right? But yeah, being Verity's mom means that we don't take the little things for granted. I find myself really just and not all the time, not as much as I want to, but I slow down when I'm on my walk. I will look, I'll notice the bird. I'll stop and look at, the falcon and the whatever magpie, like having a fight at the top of the pine tree. Like I just want to soak in life because I know it was so hard and it was so dark during the days of pregnancy and really the first year was such a learning curve. There was a lot of joy for sure, but there was a lot of hardship too. And um, that's what I want us to be able to talk honestly about depression, anxiety, the panic attacks. I think we probably all have some sort of trauma, that
Yeah.
associated with the diagnosis and the learning curve that we got thrown on. But if you can just hang on and have gratitude for what is happening and how we are have the opportunity to grow and change through it, I think that there's just this world on the other side that I wish everybody could see that. I wish everybody could feel that joy and that passion that honestly, like all of us here have it. I know you ladies, I know that you have it. I know that so many in the community have it and they find it a lot of times on this journey. They realize,
Mhm.
wow, like I am empowered. I can be a mama bear. I can fight for my child in a way that's authentic to me and to my family and the way that we value our lives and what we want that to look like. So that's a really long answer to your question, but being Verity's mom, it's almost like each pregnancy, each birth, each child that the Lord allowed me to be mama to led kind of naturally to the next phase of the journey. And we know Verity has completed our family, and we're just all better people because she came along.
Yeah, you worded that, I mean, perfectly.
Mhm.
We know she inspired you to found Mama Bear Care. So can you tell us a little bit about your organization?
Sure. And thanks also for asking. I appreciate the opportunity to share. I I just received so much support from the trisomy groups. There, rare trisomy parents and soft, and there might have been a couple others that I was part of at the time. Just trying to glean as much information as I could. And I felt like there wasn't necessarily specific support for the pregnancy part. There were some answers, but it was within the greater community, the greater diagnosis. And for me, the pregnancy just, I don't know, there was something about that period where I went from joyous expectation to your baby's not going to make it. And just this hard stop, like gloom and doom. I had never had depression like that. I frankly, caught me unawares, and it made me feel like a different person. Um, I was just so profoundly affected by that. And I remember just feeling like, I think I said the word earlier, the lifeline that it was to find other people and start connecting. And I thought, I wonder if there could be something like that for mamas who are getting a diagnosis. And at first I was kind of focused in the trisomy 18
Hmm.
community. But honestly, I started to think that really, whether it's a rare trisomy or anencephaly or holoprosencephaly or you know any any number of
Yeah.
diagnoses, I think we have supported families with probably at least 2 dozen different diagnoses. And there's often a lot of combination and overlap because many of them will have heart defects as well, or there will be other things that need to be considered. In a sense, it almost didn't matter what the diagnosis was. Those emotions that you're going to go through, the fight with the medical community to accept your child and to value that life and help you create the experience of birth and delivery, whether it's stillborn or a live baby who's going to need some pretty significant care afterwards. To me, that was like we could be speaking into that space because I didn't know people who could help me specifically with that. And so, it took a while. I was probably like you get matched up with people and you're PMing and you're answering questions just informally. I did
Hmm.
that for some years. And then when Verity was 4 years old, we got invited. I did apply to attend this summit, but we got invited to be one of the um, potential organizations to attend. And it was an innovator summit for those who wanted to launch a nonprofit ministry in what they called the pro-life space. So in a space of valuing life. And so there were a number of people there. Nobody was there to represent the community that I was there to represent, though. And I was able to pitch the idea for what we called Verity's Village. And that was the original name of our
Hmm.
501c3. We weren't a 501c3 at the time. I was just learning. I was learning so much. And honestly, I don't think I knew what I was getting into. um, which is probably good because maybe I wouldn't have done it. But I pitched this idea for this organization. I said that there has to be some way to support these moms who are being told that the next logical step, you get a diagnosis. Okay, when do you want to terminate? Because
Hmm.
by this point, I had already been messaging with so many moms who they weren't going to terminate. They didn't want to. It was sad, it was hard, but they wanted to see this out and see what would happen. They wanted to hold their babies, even if it was for 2 minutes. They wanted to meet their babies alive. And yet, appointment after appointment, they were being told, "Oh, it's not too late. You can still schedule the termination."
Right.
Where's the compassion there? Uh, where's the real choice if you don't have the
Yeah.
opportunity to talk about what that mom really wants and needs the support to do? So I started thinking that this is something that was a huge need. And when I pitched it before the Save the Storks board, the review board, they agreed and they gave us a $10,000 grant, which is how we launched. Okay, I guess we're doing this. We're going to be a 501c3. So that helped us with, incorporating and got us started on our feet. So we launched in 2021. And then in November, December last year, we decided to just change the trade name. So legally, we're still Verity's Village, but I'm reserving that because I believe we're going to have a physical property someday. And I think Verity's Village is a great name for a property. I would love a retreat and conference center where we can serve families like ours who can bring their special kiddos and have amazing accessibility, not just like a ramp stuck on. Like I
Right.
want a completely accessible camp. I would love to partner with, the Stella Effect and other organizations that are doing this kind of stuff. But for now, what we're doing is serving mama bears, and we're providing the care for mama bear as she gives that fierce love and tender care to her baby, and prepares for whatever that journey is going to look like for her.
That's amazing. I mean, it's such a need to have what you
Yeah.
guys do in that space. And I mean, it's totally true. Like parents are not given the full picture. They're given, in many instances, that one direction. And,
Right.
there's just not enough support. So there's such a need for organizations such as what you guys are doing. We're also aware that you've done, some speaking engagements. In particular, you spoke at the March for Life, where you shared a stage with Vice President Vance and many others.
Crazy.
Um,
Bethany Hamilton.
yeah.
Yeah.
Can you tell us what this experience was like?
Yeah, that was such a shock and such an honor. The president of the March for Life at the time, Jeannie Mancini, she has stepped down, and another lady is in that role now, who is also amazing. But Jeannie got connected to me through, I had written an op-ed that Newsweek picked up about a year and a half ago. Um, you probably remember the Kate Cox case, the woman in
Oh,
Texas
yeah.
who sued the state of Texas because she got a trisomy 18 diagnosis and she wanted to abort. That hit national news,
Mhm.
and that hit me really, like that's my baby, right? Trisomy 18, that's my daughter. And this woman was being told that this is incompatible with life condition. And we all have heard that phrase at some time.
Yeah.
And I wrote as it like if I could take her out for coffee, what would I want to just share with her? I'm not here to pass judgment on her. I just wanted her to hear the story of a mama who has a little girl with trisomy 18. And by the way, I don't know if I mentioned this earlier, but Verity is 8.5 years old. So um, so she didn't get the memo that she's incompatible with life, and neither did any
Right.
of your kiddos either. But so I just wrote this piece that Newsweek published, and so Jeannie had read that, and anyway, through some mutual connections, 6 degrees to Kevin Bacon or whatever, she made it to little old me and asked if we could have a video chat. So last November, she and I chatted, and she heard a little bit more about her story with Verity. And then she said, I would love to invite you to be a speaker at our National March for Life in Washington, D.C. And I mean, I was, okay, sure. This was coming right as we were deciding to rebrand to Mama Bear Care. So then we thought, all right, if we're going to do this and have some national attention, we better get a website so that it looks, like we're Mama Bear Care actually knows what we're doing. I mean, we've been doing this ministry for several years now, and it has grown, it's evolved, and we have big plans and big visions, and God willing, we'll be able to hire full-time staff because there's so many mamas that are getting these diagnoses that really need to be told that they don't have to do this alone, and that there are resources and there is support to help them. So that's what we went to Washington, D.C. to share, that kiddos like Verity exist, that they have a wonderful quality of life. They love life. And she was there with her little bear hat that her big sister, Karis, made us matching bear hats. So she had her baby bear hat. I had my mama bear hat. And we talked about what that doctor said about calling my daughter retarded, and how that made the mama bear rise up in me. And now we're building an army of mama bears who are rising up to fight for these precious kids, because they don't need to just accept that narrative that they can be terminated with no regrets, because we know that there's a lot of regret associated with that, and a lot of physical issues as well. And we just want to provide a different path and let them know we're here to walk you through this, and we'll do all we can to help you get the connections and the help that you need as well.
For sure. I remember your speech with those cute hats. They were so adorable.
They were. I recorded it so I could rewatch it.
Oh, thanks. It's on our website too, if anyone wants to peek at it. All
Yeah.
3 minutes of my 3 minutes of fame. It,
No,
it,
it
it was
was
weird. It was weird.
perfect.
We were behind a bulletproof glass and we just found out, like, as the night before, I think, that President or Vice President Vance, JD Vance, is that right? I'm like
Yeah.
mixing up my words here. That he was going to be on the stage. So I didn't see him or meet him. He was high security, of course, but I did get to meet Bethany Hamilton. She was pretty amazing.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So what is your biggest motivation for Mama Bear Care? Of course, besides Verity, what
Yeah.
would you say is kind of your like biggest motivator?
Yeah. Oh, I think it gives me an outlet for that passion that,
Hmm.
like, otherwise, if it's bottled up inside me, I'm a little too much. If I were just lurking in the support groups, I'd be like pretty overbearing, probably trying to just share, the hope, and it's okay, and I know, I feel like this gives me the opportunity to share the things with mamas that I wish I had been told. Like, it, it's okay to hold both excitement and grief, joy and hardship. Like, I think that we tend to think it's all or nothing, one or the other. And it's a very complex set of emotions that we experience as
Yeah.
mamas of little ones with trisomy 18, or for the other mama bears who have a different diagnosis. And two things can be true at once, right? We
Mhm.
can love our children fiercely, and we can be sad that, there are probably some things that Verity's not going to do that her siblings do. And that's okay. I think it's okay to sit in that tension. I don't, it just took me quite a while to process all of those thoughts and emotions. And if we can help these mamas get, a head start on a healing journey, and finding joy and hope despite the difficulties, I'm just full of gratitude for the chance to do that. The mamas that I get to interact with personally, and there, by the way, there's another trisomy 18 mama, Catherine Kerr. You probably know her, many of you do. That she carried her little girl Indiana and gave birth to her, and 6 weeks later she went to heaven. But she was literally the very first mama bear in our support group from diagnosis to delivery, and we built a connection right away and messaged quite a bit, and obviously stayed in touch, because I kept seeing her reach out to other moms who were on the journey as well, and she was offering them encouragement and support, as well as medical tips, because hello, she's a NICU nurse. And I didn't have the medical background, and I was always very careful. I'm not going to give medical advice. I can share what my experience is. I can share what some of my friends have gone
Mhm.
through, but I'm very careful not to say, I don't have the medical expertise. But Catherine has that training that I didn't have. And so together, the two of us are able to make a big difference. And so she's handling more of that medical side. She will help mamas find trisomy friendly hospitals, or, care teams who are going to be supportive of carrying to term. She can help them with the birth planning. She has walked with so many moms. It's incredible. She has so many stories to share. And I know that she has blessed and made a difference in so many lives. So for me, getting those comments when moms come back and say, thank you, thank you for what you've done. I would do it all over again, just to have that time with my child. And I wouldn't have had that, if I hadn't found that support. It just, it's really intangible, but that's what's keeping me going, is knowing that we're making a difference.
Yes, I feel like the three of us who are on this with you can, a
Hmm.
lot of what you said resonates with us.
Yeah.
It's,
Yeah.
you know, what I mean, running a nonprofit, like you said earlier, is not, for the faint of heart.
It's
It's
not.
it's a lot.
It's
And
not.
so, you need to you need that motivation. And
Hmm.
so to get the feedback or the email or the comment or whatever it might be, that's just like,
Yeah.
you made the difference, stuff like that is really what, kind of makes you reset and are like, okay,
Yeah.
this is why
Right.
we're doing this.
Yeah.
It may be hard sometimes, but we are
Hmm.
helping so many individuals, and that makes all the hard worth it. It's kind of like
Yes.
our kids,
Yeah.
that it takes a lot of fight and a lot of effort. But then to just see how vibrant and amazing our children are, it's like that's why we do what we do.
Yeah.
Um, so it's kind of similar to that, at least from my perspective. So I feel like everything you said was very resonating for
Mm.
sure. Um, so yeah, I'm very glad that we were able to hear a little bit more about Mama Bear Care, so some of our listeners, can get connected. Especially if there's people listening that are, on the prenatal journey,
Yes.
looking to get connected with an org. What's kind of the quickest way for someone to get connected with
Yeah.
your organization?
Yeah. So mamabearcare.org, MAMA bearcare.org is our website. Some people find us through, as you mentioned, Facebook searches. They might find that we are a prenatal support group that'll pop up. So the name of the group is From Diagnosis to Delivery. We do have a sister support group for bereaved parents. It's called From Heartache to Hope. And so some moms choose to leave diagnosis to delivery. Maybe they've become medical moms and they're too busy. They need to be
Mhm.
in the trisomy support groups or other groups. Maybe they've lost their little one and it's too hard. It's a painful reminder. So then we have From Heartache to Hope, so they can still feel connected to the community. And we do have people in our bereaved support group that have found us well after the journey. So, it's not exclusive. It's not a certain club, but like if you've lost a little one, miscarriage, even abortion, we have some mamas who have terminated, and that's part of their grief journey. They're in there. And then those, stillbirths or little ones who have just passed all too soon. And we want to support that journey as much as we can as well. So Facebook groups. Our website also has a link to the groups. I'm pretty sure if you it should be in there if you scroll and find us, or fill out a contact form. I'm happy to connect with you. We send care packages to those who are expecting, that they have pregnancy journal and our diagnosis to delivery guidebook, which is, if I could have had a book handed to me that said, like, read this will walk you through, that's the book that I wanted to write and provide for moms going through this journey and their families. Hopefully it's, not just helpful for a mom. I've heard from a number that this is really, really helpful for them. And we have also found, I mentioned I lurked in groups first. This is another way that they can quietly receive information and so however much support a mama wants, we can do that. I mean, right now we can. We have a couple of us who are part-timers, and a lot of volunteer hours going into this labor of love. I know you get that as well, and we're
Mhm.
hoping to hire full-time staff. But right now it has been, some people just want the support group. Some people take the packet and they kind of run with the information. I know I'm kind of a go-getter. Like, if I had had a book, I would have said, okay, this is what I'm doing. I don't need anyone to hold my
Right.
hand. But we have we hold hands too, and we walk people through, okay, this is how you get ready for that next appointment. Here's some questions you probably want to ask, and then let's talk about what those answers are and make a decision, about what the next step forward is. So if and when mamas are ready for that level of care, that's where Catherine is there, her Mama Bear Care Coordinator. She's going to walk them through step by step that journey. So those are a couple ways you can find us.
That's great. And I feel like, I mean, we support the Edward syndrome community, but there's a lot of overlap with what you do
Hmm.
and, you know, things that you do that we don't, with like the bereavement and stuff. It's
Yeah,
so good to know, for any listeners that, they can go to
absolutely.
your
Yeah.
From Heartache to Hope group and I know like you kind of hit on, it's tough sometimes for people to remain in, even some of the trisomy 18 groups
Yeah.
if their
Mhm.
child has passed.
Yeah.
Right.
So, to be
You
able
do that.
to let some of our community people know about your groups too is just it's so important to have those all that support.
It
And
is.
that's why we're very happy that we can collaborate with you and
Yeah,
share
absolutely.
resources and just we're in this together.
For sure.
So we're very glad you were able to join us.
Thank
I don't have
you.
any other questions for you, but if there's anything else that you want to share about your family, Verity, your organization, feel free to do
Yeah.
so.
Well, I can talk. Well, let me just quickly mention, because I didn't say it earlier, but we do have counselors who are partners with us, and their most active group, honestly, is the Heartache to Hope group. So for our bereaved parents, we have once a month group counseling, and then they can be available as well. So that is again currently like our what we have. It works, and as we grow, we just trust and pray that we get
Right.
staff to go along with that. But right now our counselors are grandparents to a little girl with trisomy 18 herself. Jewel, if any of you know Hannah, is Jewel's mama, and then Alan and Patricia Cook work with us to provide counseling to our pregnant mamas and spouses, partners as well, and then our medically caregiving parents as well. So anyway, that's I think one last piece of the nonprofit that I didn't mention earlier. I can just share that Verity at 8.5 years old just started third grade. She is doing amazing. Um, she is not running like Gunnar the runner. I love I love seeing the videos of what our other kiddos are doing, but I also love how unique they
Mhm.
are, and just a reminder that each kid has his or her own journey.
Mhm.
But
Definitely.
Verity is we say she's thriving in her own special way, and
Definitely.
that's not going to look the same way as any of our other kiddos, but
Mhm.
knowing each other has really helped us help her. And so, being around school, I got an amazing video from her nurse last Friday that Verity was actually eating macaroni and cheese. Like, what? Girlfriend's eating mac and cheese? It's because her little friends at school were eating mac and cheese.
Right.
She wanted to be like them.
Yeah.
I'm like, well,
Mhm.
maybe she will start eating orally. Uh, that's not been an easy thing for us over here, but yeah, she's so happy. And I remember when I was pregnant, and then in the very early days, because it took a long time to see that first smile and to hear the
Mhm.
giggle. I remember thinking, "Oh my gosh, we have ruined her life. Like she's suffering. She's because I was expecting everybody talked about the joy that these kids had, and 2-month-old Verity was not necessarily full of joy, to be
She
honest."
wasn't into that yet.
She was having a hard time.
She was a
Like
grumpy baby.
she she was. To be fair, we learned about her reflux. We learned about her obstructive apnea. Like I'd be grumpy
Mhm.
too if I had
Yeah.
that going on and
Right.
couldn't go to sleep. So, but once we sorted through her issues, oh my gosh, that whole line about our kids are so happy. Yes, 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 yes. Like she spontaneously giggles, and she
Yeah.
cracks herself up like she's doing stuff. She's like, I'm so funny, it's a hoot. So anyway, I'll end with that she is an absolute joy. And I kind of was suspicious of parents saying things like that when I was pregnant, and then when she was really little. I'm like, well, you're saying that because you have to, like you're her mom, right? And
Like, yeah, right.
now I know better. It's actually true. Like they really are
Mhm.
so happy, and we're happy we get to do life with her.
Amen to that. Yeah,
Yeah.
you can't really put it into words. So I'm
Yeah.
glad
Yeah.
you just did because it's so hard to just express how amazing our kids are.
Mhm.
They're
But we're
definitely the
very,
happiest humans.
Yeah,
they are
they are. Hmm.
100%. But we're so glad you were able to join us and share about
Yes, thank
Verity
you.
and Mama Bear Care and your family. I think that it's, so valuable for our listeners to, hear from people like you, with a wealth of knowledge from, not just raising 9 children, one of them being Verity, but also having your experiences with your organization and, all the groundbreaking work that you're doing for, rare diagnoses like trisomy 18. So we're very happy that you were able to join us.
Well, thanks again for asking me. It's always fun to get to talk about my girl and share the stories. Thank you, ladies, for what you're doing too, because oh my goodness, this organization has been a long time coming, right? Just something
Yeah.
specific to the Edwards syndrome community. So thank you for putting in the time and effort and for all that you do, I'm sure behind the scenes that we don't even see. So
Definitely. Thank you so
Yeah.
much.
Thank you.